Imagine typing a single sentence and just watching an entire corporate dashboard build itself in like 10
Yeah,
seconds.
which sounds like a data team's ultimate dream, honestly.
It really does. But what if that so-called dream is actually just a fast track to massive amounts of invisible, expensive rework?
Right, which is exactly what we are seeing happen.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are bringing you episode 23 of our series, Data Design with Mockup.
And we've got a really great one for you today.
We absolutely do. We are unpacking Microsoft Power BI Copilot, the whole art of dashboard wireframing, and, well, the hidden costs of skipping the planning phase entirely.
Because the promise of AI right now is just this incredible speed.
Yeah.
You type and it builds.
Exactly. But our mission for this deep dive is to explore why speed without alignment isn't actually a shortcut at all.
No, not at all. It's honestly like attaching a jet engine to a bicycle.
That sounds dangerous.
Oh, it is. You are going to go incredibly fast, but if you haven't reinforced the frame first, you are just going to crash at a higher speed.
Right.
And Copilot in Power BI represents this massive leap forward, particularly for BI teams that are, operating under relentless deadline pressure.
Which is pretty much all of them.
Yeah, exactly. It takes your plain English prompts and turns them into report pages, visual recommendations, and it can even write the underlying code.
Which is mind-blowing.
It is. But as data teams actually integrate this into their daily workflows, they are hitting a very hard reality. Copilot completely skips the dashboard planning step.
It just jumps straight in.
Right. Straight from a text prompt into the final build.
Okay, let's unpack this, because if you want to understand why skipping the planning phase is so dangerous, you first have to understand exactly where Copilot operates.
Yeah, the actual environment it lives in.
Right, inside a BI workflow. We really need to move past the broad, shiny promise of AI and look at the mechanical realities here. Where does this AI actually live?
Well, the most important mechanical reality to grasp is that Copilot works strictly inside Power BI Desktop or the Power BI service.
Got it. So it's not a standalone thing.
No, it does not exist before you open the application. It reads your existing data model, it looks at the tables and the relationships you've already established, and it generates visual assets based on that internal logic.
So it's tied directly to the data you feed it.
Exactly. By definition, it starts at the build step. There is no external sandbox environment where the AI says, hey, how does this layout look to you before I wire up all this complex data?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just grabs the data and starts throwing charts onto the canvas.
Wait, before we go further, you mentioned it looks at the data model. And later we are going to be talking about things like F2 capacities and DAX measures.
Oh, right, the technical jargon.
Yeah, for me and for you listening who might not be in the technical weeds of Power BI every single day, what exactly do we mean when we say data model or semantic model in this context?
Good question. Think of your data model as the relationship map of your business.
Okay.
So if you have a table showing all your sales, another table showing all your products, the data model is the set of rules that tells Power BI how those two tables interact.
Ah, I see. It's the underlying structure.
Yes, exactly. And to unleash generative AI on that structure requires a tremendous amount of computing power.
Which explains the licensing restrictions, right? This isn't just a free button that pops up for everyone who downloads the software.
No, definitely not. You need a paid Microsoft Fabric capacity of F2 or higher, or a Power BI premium capacity of P1 or higher.
And that's at the organizational level, right?
Yeah, the standard $10 Pro license isn't going to cut it here. We are talking about heavy enterprise-grade environments.
And because we are in those enterprise environments, the stakes for getting it right are incredibly high.
Oh, massive. The teams using these premium capacities are managing complex, high-volume data requests for executives.
Right. The C-suite wants their numbers yesterday.
Exactly. So when Copilot is deployed, it's capable of doing some genuinely impressive things. I mean, it can generate a full report page from just a natural language description.
It's like typing a chat message.
Yeah, and it features this Q&A style data exploration tool. But the hard boundary is that it cannot produce a shareable, stakeholder-ready layout before it actually builds the final product.
So if we use a mechanical analogy, it sounds like hiring a lightning-fast construction crew.
I like where this is going.
You text them an idea for a house, and the second they get the text, they just start pouring concrete and framing walls.
Right, zero hesitation.
Yeah, they never bother to drop the blueprints or show you a floor plan. You show up to the empty lot the next day, and there's a kitchen in the hallway and a staircase leading to the ceiling.
And the foreman is just standing there saying, well, you said you wanted a 2-story house with a stove.
Exactly.
That lack of a blueprint sets the stage for massive misaligned expectations. Because if the concrete is already poured, moving a wall isn't just a matter of using an eraser on a sketch.
No, you have to bring in jackhammers at that point.
You really do. When Copilot builds a dashboard without a wireframe blueprint, it locks in the logic, the layout, and the visual choices before any human has actually agreed that this is the right way to view the data.
Okay, so if Copilot is essentially blind to our broader business context and just spits out whatever the data model supports, what actually happens when a developer tries to use it in the real world?
Well, it can get pretty messy.
Has anyone actually stress tested this to see what it builds from a standing start?
Yes, actually. There is some fascinating data from a hands-on stress test conducted in May 2026.
Oh, perfect. What did they find?
Well, this wasn't a test to see if it could wireframe. We already know it doesn't do that. It was a test to see exactly what Copilot builds from a highly specific prompt.
And what downstream problems that creates?
Exactly. What problems that instant build creates for the developer.
Let's look at the parameters of that test because I think they're really telling. It was run inside the Power BI service using a very standard Microsoft sample sales dataset.
Right, very common stuff.
Yeah, we're talking Xbox, Office 365, Power Platform, just standard product categories. And the prompt they used was not vague.
No, it was actually really detailed.
It wasn't just, make me a sales dashboard. I actually have the exact prompt right here.
Let's hear it.
It said, build a dark mode sales dashboard. KPI cards for net sales, total returns, units sold, return rate, show monthly trends, top products, category performance, and returns analysis. Fill the page with as many visuals and filters as possible. One accent color, high contrast.
I mean, if I handed that paragraph to a junior analyst, I'd expect a pretty tight, specific result.
Right. It's very clear. So how did the AI handle it?
Well, Copilot's turnaround time for that prompt was measured in seconds.
Wow.
Almost immediately, a report page appeared on the canvas. It populated 2 KPI cards, one for net sales sitting at $1 million, and a return rate at 27%.
Okay, off to a good start.
Yeah, it built a net sales by month bar chart, a net sales by product horizontal bar chart, and a grouped bar chart for category. It even placed category and month slicers neatly at the top right of the canvas.
Honestly, on paper, that sounds like a win. 10 seconds to get all those charts on a page.
It sounds great until you look closer.
Right, because when you actually review the output against that highly specific prompt, the cracks show up instantly.
Oh, big time. There were 7 glaring gaps.
7?
Yeah. First off, the background was just stark white. The prompt explicitly asked for dark mode.
Which completely ruins the high contrast aesthetic they asked for.
Completely. Second, it only built 2 of the 4 requested KPI cards. Units sold and total returns were just completely missing from the canvas.
Just ignored them.
Basically, yeah. And then there were the broken visuals. On a second-generation attempt during this same stress test, 2 of the visuals actually threw an error-fetching data message right there on the screen.
Wait, why does that happen? If the AI is reading the data model, why would it build a visual that returns an error?
Think of your data model like a massive plumbing system.
Okay.
Copilot basically tried to attach a sink to a gas line simply because they were located in the same room.
That is a terrible idea for a house.
Exactly. It doesn't inherently understand the real-world business context of what flows through those pipes. It just connects the nodes it sees.
So it's just guessing based on proximity or structure.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In technical terms, there were conflicting field placements in the underlying data model. Copilot tried to build something that the data structure couldn't actually support in that specific configuration.
And the list of errors just goes on. I mean, instead of the requested single accent, high contrast color palette, the AI just defaulted to the standard out-of-the-box medium blue across everything.
The classic Power BI blue.
Yeah, and despite the prompt specifically demanding to fill the page with as many visuals as possible, a huge portion of the canvas was just left totally empty.
Which is wild given the prompt.
Plus, there was no true time series chart. No month-over-month or year-over-year deltas. And those are absolute table stakes for any corporate sales dashboard.
What this test proved conclusively is that Copilot only generates what the data model structurally supports at a surface level.
Right. It doesn't think like a business analyst.
Exactly. It does not generate what makes analytical sense to a business user. It just completely lacks human business context.
But wait, can I just tweak the prompt? I mean, if I see a white background and I want dark mode, why can't I just type, "Hey Copilot, you forgot the dark mode, fix the background, and figure out those two missing KPI
It
cards"?
seems like the logical next step, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't prompt engineering solve this?
What's fascinating here is that a better prompt fundamentally won't fix these specific types of issues
Really? Why not?
because Copilot is a content generator, not an application settings manager. Dark mode, for example, is a Power BI theme setting.
Yeah.
It is an environment configuration.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, Copilot doesn't navigate into your view settings menu and change the application's global theme. It just builds charts.
That is a really crucial distinction. We are treating it like an intern who can click around the software and change settings, but it's really just a localized chart building engine.
Exactly. And those broken visuals we talked about, the ones with the plumbing issues,
Yeah.
no amount of plain English prompting is going to resolve an underlying structural issue in how your tables relate to one another.
Because it can't fix the pipes.
Right. The missing KPIs are even more telling. If the data model isn't pre-configured to easily surface units sold as a distinct pre-calculated metric, Copilot might just skip it entirely.
So what do you do?
To fix that, a human has to intervene, open up the coding window, and manually write DAX measures.
Okay, you mentioned DAX again. Let's define that for the listener before we move on. What exactly is DAX, and why is it a big deal if Copilot misses a metric and forces me to write it?
DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions. It is the formula language used inside Power BI.
Like Excel formulas on steroids.
Pretty much. If you want to calculate year-over-year growth or an average return rate based on very specific set of filters, you write a DAX formula.
Right.
It is incredibly powerful, but it is famously unforgiving. You miss a single comma, or you misunderstand how filters interact across your tables, and your entire dashboard will show the wrong numbers.
So you aren't just tweaking a prompt anymore. You are now manually intervening in the build. You are debugging code, fixing data relationships, and changing global settings.
Yep.
Which means the 10 seconds you saved on the initial generation just cost you 2 hours of troubleshooting.
And that introduces a concept we really need to focus on today, which is planning debt.
Planning debt.
Yeah. Teams think they are saving all this upfront time by skipping the wireframing phase and having AI instantly generate the dashboard. In reality, they are just accruing massive amounts of planning debt.
So what does this all mean when we bring a stakeholder into the room? The developer has spent 2 hours fixing the plumbing, changing the colors, and writing the DAX. They finally show this Copilot-generated dashboard to the sales director who requested it.
The real danger here isn't just that Copilot forgot dark mode, it's the anchoring effect.
Oh, the anchoring effect is huge.
It is. When a stakeholder looks at a Copilot build, they aren't looking at a rough sketch on a napkin. They are reacting to a fully built report with real company data, real formatting, and DAX measures already running in the background.
And that visual instantly gets locked in their head.
Completely locked in.
Because the stakeholder's mental model of what they wanted was in their head, not in the developer's prompt. They don't care how fast the AI generated it.
They really don't.
They care that they asked for 4 specific KPIs, and they are looking at a screen that looks entirely different from what they imagined.
Exactly. And because it looks finished, they assume the data is correct. If the layout is wrong, they start questioning the validity of the data itself.
Which is a terrible place to be in a meeting. You're no longer collaborating on an idea with the stakeholder. You are actively apologizing for a mistake.
And now, you have to fix it. According to the Modern Data Survey report, 60% of data teams report that they rework their tracks often.
60%? That is a massive chunk of time.
It is. And doing that rework inside Power BI is significantly more expensive in terms of time and resources than revising a simple wireframe.
Because everything is already wired up.
Right. You have to go into the settings, adjust themes, rebuild visuals from scratch, recheck the data model relationships, and rewrite the DAX logic. All while the stakeholders just tapping their foot waiting for the revision.
I imagine this is an absolute nightmare for distributed teams or offshore development agencies.
But it is the single biggest pain point for distributed teams. When you work across time zones, you rely heavily on pre-build alignment documents.
You have to, yeah.
You need absolute clarity before a developer in another country spends 8 hours in the system. Copilot produces no pre-built artifact, it just builds.
Right. So offshore teams are forced into this endless asynchronous loop.
Exactly. They send a half-baked AI-generated dashboard at the end of their day.
Then the stakeholder reviews it the next morning, sends back a massive list of structural corrections, and the developer starts rebuilding from scratch the next night.
It's incredibly inefficient.
Okay, but wait. You're setting up the problem, and logically the solution you're pointing to is bringing mockup.a into the workflow to create wireframes first.
Yes.
But I have to push back here. You're saying we need a tool to plan the tool. Aren't we just adding another bottleneck to the workflow?
I hear that a lot.
I mean, if I have to spend time building a wireframe in mockup, getting it approved, and then going to Power BI, haven't I entirely lost the speed advantage of artificial intelligence?
That is a very common reaction, but it relies on a flawed metric. If your goal is speed to first draft, then yes, skipping straight to Copilot is technically faster.
Right, 10 seconds.
But business value isn't driven by first drafts. It's driven by speed to final approval. Taking 20 minutes to align on a wireframe prevents 20 hours of back-end rework.
So we are paying off the planning debt before it accrues interest. How does this two-step solution actually function mechanically? Step 1 is wireframing in mockup and getting sign-off. Step 2 is having Copilot build the approved layout. But why mockup specifically?
Good point.
Why not just draw boxes on a whiteboard or use a generic design tool?
The reason mockup is the right tool for this specific Power BI workflow is its component library. It uses BI native components.
What does that mean in practice?
When you drag and drop elements in mockup, you aren't drawing arbitrary shapes that might be impossible to code later. You are using actual KPI cards, matrix visuals, and slicers that perfectly match Copilot's visual vocabulary.
So when a stakeholder looks at the mockup wireframe, they are seeing a highly realistic, structurally sound preview of what Power BI can actually support.
Exactly. They aren't asking for custom animations or crazy layouts that the BI tool physically can't handle.
Which manages expectations right out of the gate.
It does. And mockup provides a shareable link for that stakeholder review. You send them the link before you ever even open Power BI.
So they don't need a Power BI license to view it.
Nope. Which saves massive administrative headaches. And more importantly, there is no live data connected to it.
Right, no data security risks during the planning phase.
Exactly. The stakeholder can look at the layout, add comments, and say, make this dark mode, or move the units sold KPI to the top left. You adjust the wireframe in minutes without writing a single line of DAX.
That is huge. And here is the mechanism that really bridges the gap. Once the stakeholder says, yes, that layout is exactly what I want, mockup exports that approved wireframe directly to Power BI as a starting template.
Yes, it literally hands the approved blueprint over to the AI construction crew.
Which changes everything.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about what that export function actually accomplishes at a technical level. By exporting a template, the layout is completely locked.
The actual spatial arrangement.
Right, the arrangement of the visuals on the grid, the specific types of charts, the placement of the filters, it is all defined as empty structural placeholders before Copilot even touches the data model.
So when you finally open Power BI and invoke Copilot, it actually has the tracks to run on.
Yes.
It doesn't have to guess where to put the bar chart, and it doesn't have to guess what color the background should be.
And the rework loop just vanishes. Copilot is no longer playing the role of a blind architect. It is simply executing against an approved structural plan.
It just fills in the blanks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It fills those locked placeholders with the correct data connections from your semantic model. It stops being a chaotic, unpredictable brainstorm and becomes a highly controlled, incredibly fast build engine.
So once you bridge that planning gap, you can actually step back and appreciate how powerful Copilot is.
Oh, definitely.
Because the goal of wireframing first isn't to slow down AI. It's to point it in the exact right direction so it can run at full speed without hitting a brick wall.
That's a great way to put it.
Because when Copilot is used in the proper sequence, after the mockup template is loaded, it is an absolute beast.
It genuinely is. Once the layout dictates what needs to be built, Copilot becomes a best-in-class report page generator. Right.
Because it's working with your actual semantic models inside an approved grid, the visuals it populates are instantly connected to real data, perfectly scaled to the stakeholder's exact specifications.
And let's revisit DAX for a moment, because we established earlier that writing DAX is a massive barrier, especially for junior analysts who might spend hours searching forums just to figure out why their date filter isn't working.
Oh, we've all been there. And Copilot completely transforms that experience.
How so?
Well, because the mockup template specifies exactly which metrics are required on the page, Copilot can suggest and generate the complex DAX measures needed to populate those specific visuals.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes a frustrating, error-prone coding process and condenses it into seconds. Even for senior developers, having AI draft the initial DAX logic for repetitive calculations is a phenomenal time saver.
Here's where it gets really interesting, too. There is another feature here that executives seem to absolutely love, which is the plain English narrative summaries. Yes, the smart narratives. Copilot can actually analyze the data currently displayed on the page and generate a dynamic text box summarizing the insights.
Instead of an executive having to squint and interpret the charts.
Right. The dashboard simply tells them net sales are up 15% this month, driven primarily by a surge in Office 365 licensing in the EMEA region.
That is so powerful. Having an AI that can consistently generate accurate, context-aware summaries based on an approved layout is incredibly valuable.
It is.
So when you combine these two tools, Mockup for the blueprint and Copilot for the heavy lifting, the build acceleration really compounds over time.
It really does.
If your team is churning out dozens of analytical reports a month and they aren't getting stuck in endless, agonizing revision loops because the layout was locked in beforehand, your total output skyrockets.
You aren't just building faster. You are building the right thing faster.
That is the ultimate value proposition. It transforms Microsoft Copilot from an unpredictable tool that creates planning debt into a highly reliable end-to-end delivery workflow.
It's a complete game changer.
To summarize all of this for you, the listener, speed without alignment is just faster rework. AI can build a dashboard in 10 seconds, but, well, if it builds a dashboard the stakeholder hates, you haven't saved any time at all.
You've actually lost time.
Exactly. Microsoft Copilot BI dashboard wireframing isn't a single magical step. It is a deliberate workflow. You wireframe and mockup, you get that stakeholder sign-off using a safe, shareable link, you export it as a locked Power BI template, and then you let Copilot unleash its magic to connect the data to exactly what was approved.
It's about giving the jet engine a chassis that can handle the speed.
Perfectly said.
This raises an important question, though, and it's something I think is worth reflecting on as generative AI continues to evolve at this rapid pace.
What's that?
If AI tools like Copilot can now instantly execute the complex DAX coding and build almost any technical dashboard we ask for, does the true value of a data professional shift? Does it move entirely away from the technical keystrokes of building and entirely toward the human art of planning, communicating, and wireframing?
Wow, that is something to think about. The human element really becomes the premium skill. AI can pour the concrete, but, it still needs an architect.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep planning, keep building, and we'll see you on the next one.